by the former Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi. Very good to see you here. Thank you for joining us. It is a time of mourning, clearly, for Italians. How are you feeling, and how did you react when you heard the news of Pope Francis's passing?
Everyone knew the situation of the Pope wasn't good, but nobody waited what happened, particularly after the time in which he spent the last Sunday in the middle of the people. And that is a very signal of attention and careful about the people of church. So now it's time of silence, of course, and there is in the Easter Sunday a very good expression, he stay until the end. This is the expression of the Gospel, and this is exactly what happened to Pope Francis. A lot of people look at him as a strange Pope for a lot of things, because he's was very informal and different, also respect to predecessors. But today and the next days will be the time to pay tribute, to pay homage, and remember this man who came from far, and he was very in the heart of the people of Roma.
Will you go into St. Peter's Basilica to pay your respects? Is that your intention?
Tomorrow I will go, and then of course Saturday the official ceremony. And it's strange because I'm Catholic, so I'm part of this church, but at the same time I was Prime Minister, so I have an official and institutional role. And today, in my heart, there are the double and different emotion. As Catholic, I wait for the new Pope, of course. And, but as a former Prime Minister, I remembered a lot of discussions with him, the smiles, because he was a man in the dialogue, in the private relation, very funny, very careful about the other sensation, other feelings, other emotions. So it's a very difficult time, and at the same time the pleasure to have I'm a happy man because I met a great man.
In the UK, the British Prime Minister has a regular audience with the head of the church, who is the King or the Queen. Did you have that regular meeting with Francis, and if so, where did you do it in the buildings behind us?
No. Of course, the King is the boss of the church, but is the leader of the country. In this country, of course, the role of Pope is fortunately deeply changed. So there is a traditional relation with the President of the Republic, and there are the formal meetings with the Pope as the chief, as the leader of a different country, is a different state. But for me, it was very normal to have regular informal meetings, because he was a source of wisdom. He was a man of great experience, and for me it was a pleasure to share some ideas, discuss, more informal than formal, but there is not a tradition of regular meeting between the Prime Minister of Italy and the Pope.
Well, Francis was elected pontiff in 2013, you Prime Minister 2014 to 2016. So what nuggets of wisdom did he give you? What guidance did he share with you?
If I remember that very complicated period, the first memory is about the crisis of migration. Please remember, Pope Francis spent the first official visit as Pope in Lampedusa, which is the Sicilian island, who is probably the most important land for migrants, because it's the first island the people from Africa arrive. And for that, it was a very source of inspiration for the migration issues. He tried to push Europe in the direction to a different policy in the welcome migrants. And I remember that when I was Prime Minister, a great visit of the Holy Father in the Greek island of Lesbos, not only Italian islands, but also Greek islands. And of course, that was the time of extremists attacks. Do you remember Bataclan? Do you remember a lot of attacks in the Brussels, Paris, in a lot of cities in Europe? His voice was a voice of peace, but at the same time refuse of every type of intolerance, and it became one of the bridge between the Catholic Church and the Islamic world, thinking about the great speech in the Abu Dhabi's mosque in 2019 after I resigned. I have a lot of memories for his great vision about also Europe. He was in Strasbourg, the place of European Parliament, and he tried to give a message, please Europe, wake up. You are not boring grandmother, use this expression. And so he was a man who tried to encourage young politicians to spend time in the public debate. That was important, and I think it will be important. Of course, he was the leader of the Catholic Church, also with some tensions and troubles inside the church. But in my experience, was a man very able to listen and to encourage the dialogue. That is what remains in my heart.
Well, you brought in protections, didn't you, for migrants, you know, rescues as well, those coming from Libya, civil unions as well, and also got rid of some of the fleet of cars of the cabinet, you know, Jaguars, Maseratis, BMWs. You auctioned them off. Did you get the impression that he was supportive and approving of those sorts of policies from you?
No. I think, I believe now is the time of mourning, the time of the silence. We cannot try to rewrite the history of the Pope. I believe I had with him some discussions, but he was a Pope very respectful for the older institutions. I'm Catholic. I was the man who signed the same-sex marriages in the Italian legislation, but I never received a polemics from the Holy Father, also in the private dialogue. That is very important because I'm Catholic, I'm a member of the Church. When we are alone, maybe we can imagine, I try to push, please prudent about that. No, zero. Great respect. That is not normal and is not a tradition, but it's very important for me, a great respect in this direction. At the same time, I believe he was a man who tried to understand the world is totally changed. That is important because he was the first South American Pope. When he arrived 12 years ago in the terrace of the Basilica, St. Peter's Basilica, he used an expression, I come from far, from the end of the world. But he was able to understand the change in the world. For all the reasons, I have a memory of him as a man rich of humanity, but rich of respect for the other. Also when nobody could accept everything of the other, but in every time he had a very great respect for the other person, other people, and also for the others' ideas.
Sounds like you will miss him. Sounds like Italy will miss him. Matteo Renzi, very good to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.